For the first time ever, I am thrilled to say we have an official sponsor for the Dirt Talk podcast, and that's Ariat. I've worn Ariat boots on every job site I've visited over the years, traveling in them across 5 continents. More importantly, I have yet to find a single project where working folks, unlike me, are not wearing Ariat boots and workwear in every condition imaginable. And there's really good reason for that, and that's because it's phenomenal stuff. And the more I've learned about Ariat and the company, the more I've loved their brand. So with this, Ariat is offering any Dirt Talk listener 10% off their next Ariat order at ariat.com/dirttalk. That's 10% off boots, jeans, and workwear at ariat.com/dirttalk or at the link in this episode's description. With that, let's get to the show.
You go to equipment show. I'm not even going to name a specific equipment show. I'm thinking of one in particular, but you go to equipment show. Are you guys going to Bauma too?
We are.
Okay, cool. Oh,
You
that's
gonna be
great. Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
That's not the one I was thinking of, but nothing surprising. Like you don't go there.
Bauma last time was pretty surprising.
Bauma itself, but I'm talking like what's on display. It's like
last time
nothing knocks your socks off. Like it's like, yep, that's a loader, that's an excavator.
Kind of like going in Home Depot. You're like,
Yeah.
You know what's going
Yeah, or like a Ford dealership.
Yes.
Like you know what you're gonna get, and maybe there's like a race car sitting there that you're not expecting. Like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like just for fun, but otherwise,
it has nothing to do with what you're actually there for.
Yeah. It's like it's pretty predictable.
I will say earlier on for us, because we've been going to like Las Vegas for shows for a lot of years, you know, probably since, I don't know, 2011 or maybe earlier. So coming in, that was where we discovered grade control. That's where we discovered NCON. That's where there are things that maybe at our level now, it's not shocking because we have been around it long enough, and you know, like you have tremendous exposure to the industry.
Sure.
Like you've been out to every type of job site, and you know what's there. But for us, like the value as a small contractor coming into newer spaces and growing, like there was nothing in our area. And so you go to your local dealer, they don't have anything that's new because it's a small little, you know, remote dealership or satellite location. But when you go there, you're like, holy crap, there's stuff from all over the world.
Yeah.
And it's stuff you've never seen. And you get to meet people. I think that the conversations that we have at straight up, like our whole connection with Deere was from a conversation in the John Deere booth at a Con Expo that was like,
oh, same here,
mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like straight up. It's probably the same time I met you, that same event.
Yeah.
Like met you, went there, and then because of those conversations, like I don't think people realize the caliber of people that are in the booth at every. It's the top people in every booth are in the booth, work in the booth. The guy that designed it is the engineer that you think is just like a, you know, standing there to hand you a pen. No,
Sure.
that guy is, you have a problem with we straight up solved problems we couldn't come up with solutions for a long time. Bring it up to the guy in the booth and they're like, well, open your hood. You're missing a piece of foam. And that foam is what pushes the air through the radiator. It's going around and your machine's overheating. You're like... But the local sales, you know, service tech doesn't know that stuff. So that's where.
Yeah, there's huge value in the shows. Yeah. I think that there's monster value in the shows. And I don't want it to come off like shows are a waste of time. Like the shows are super valuable.
Yes.
I just mean like what's at the show. It's like it's pretty.
Yeah.
But I'm stoked for Bauma.
Yeah.
Bauma's wild.
It blew my mind last time how much electrification was happening there. Like before that day, I thought it was something in the far future.
Yeah.
And then when we went there, I was like, oh, like every booth and everyone had some kind of, you know, I mean, then there was like hydrogen and it was all different. I mean, some of that stuff was kind of wacky.
Sure.
But
yeah, they're developing it all in Europe because the governments there are saying you have to even there's some job sites, like even in the bidding process now, they'll give you a discount essentially if your fleet is electric when doing this job. And so to be now competitive, you have to be electric, or they'll mandate it in certain areas where there's like noise restrictions. So noise restrictions, you can't make noise. So you have to use electric equipment.
Which the hybrid stuff is very cool. Hybrid is
for
like
us.
in our
the
world,
hybrid
is like
electric drive.
I want to see hybrid everything.
Was brilliant.
Like we like the crushers we're using now, the dozers, loaders, everything is starting to have at least one piece in that line.
Yeah,
that's hybrid, that you're getting the obvious better fuel economy, more power, like when you need it. And like the crushing world, it's much quieter, less hydraulic hoses, less cooling fans. So like even just trying to put a crusher on site, it's so much quieter.
Sure.
And for the fatigue for the guys all the way around, that hybrid stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
But the full electric, I don't see it
for us. Yeah.
in our needs right now.
No, I think there's like in mining, it's been there forever.
Yeah.
Because you're running a shovel in one spot and it's cheaper. It's like it's economics. Like it makes financial sense to run a shovel with electricity rather than diesel because it's just cheaper. It's like makes perfect sense. Yeah. Or drag lines or anything like that. Even like some cranes, it makes sense if it's in one spot. Piling rigs, if they're in one spot. Like if you're not moving stuff around, Komatsu's gonna have they're gonna have a 7,000 shovel at their booth this year. Yeah, and it's electric. It still has a trailing cable, but it's like it's one
moving.
Yeah, it's on one bench, one face for sometimes weeks at a time.
Well, that's like the crushers that you take that hybrid crusher, you can actually just turn the engine off, plug it in, and then you run the whole thing on electric.
Can you really?
If you have the hookup, you can run the Kleeman crushers with.
Sure.
You just plug them in.
I didn't even know that.
Which is really cool.
Wow.
Like now it's so same thing. You get on a site that's trying to hit certain green points or whatever. That's a pretty valuable option.
When are you guys going to be at the show? Do you know what days?
We fly in Monday night, so it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I think Friday we fly. I don't know.
Tuesday afternoon. So any of those days.
Yeah, I'll see. I come in at the back end.
Okay.
I did too many days last time. It's just.
I'm not saying those are the days we're in.
Germany. Yeah, in Germany. Yeah. Yeah.
We did too many last time. Too.
It's a big
you can only see so many cranes, and you're like,
well, unfortunately, there's stuff there that's really innovative and exciting. It just you're not going to see it in the States. So you get to a point where you're kind of like. You go and you see something, you're like, hey, that's branded Husqvarna. They got all these compactors and all this stuff. And then that will never, and you ask them, they're like, we'll get you set up. And you're like, I don't want to be the distributor.
Sure,
I'm not fighting that battle. Like if it's not readily available and able to get service, it doesn't really help us.
Yeah. The scale of Bauma is just, it makes your head spin. I mean, I spent like 5 days there last time. I tell people I saw like maybe 10 or 20% of the actual show. Like you have all the halls. So I didn't even go in a majority.
No, you walk through them.
You walk through them.
We walked the halls one day. It's a lot.
There's just so much.
But there's like 7 or 8 buildings, 3 rows of buildings. You're like,
Yeah, and they're all like former hangars. So these are
big,
giant. I mean, you could spend all day in one of these buildings just looking at booths in a single building.
If you want to go down a rabbit hole, it's the place to go.
Because
there's everything.
Yeah.
Everything there. There's a whole building for whatever's down that rabbit hole.
I really recommend it to people though. Like I wish more Americans went. I think that.
Same. It's very eye-opening.
It's very eye-opening. Yeah. And even from just like a work tool standpoint or some of the small, like the equipment's one thing, but all the little stuff that they have there.
And in today's world, honestly, if you have a need, if it fits in your use, you can connect with people there and they'll ship to you. And
that's what Shay did.
It changes your, he's taken it to an extreme.
Yeah. But that's all he did is he went to Europe and connected with the Europeans and started to.
And he's bringing
just get it all in the States.
Eberhard's concept to America.
Yeah, and he's found some manufacturers in Europe and then some in the States that will make what he wants
But that's the whole thing. It goes back to not having that fear of failure, like just going out getting good ideas, and most of them are not even your ideas. You see it somewhere, whether it's at a show, at another competitor, at some other wherever, and I think that's a great thing. And it was very eye-opening for us going like to NCon in Sweden, going to Bauma. Like you just see these ideas and you're like, oh, that's really cool. Like that's a cool way to fence a job site or a cool way to move barriers or just random trench, it might be shoring that you've never seen before, but all of a sudden you're like, oh, we could improve. And whether you improve on yours or adapt theirs, it's just it opens your mind up, and then
and some
you
ideas.
come out with cool stuff. So go back to inventing.
You come home thinking you're going to buy wheeled excavators with trailers, and then you're like,
come on.
It doesn't really work.
Yeah, wheeled excavators with trailers.
They're pretty cool. I mean, they're everywhere.
Special, yeah, with
like 50 attachments in that trailer.
I think they do everything with
they just
wheeled excavator and trailer.
Rolling all over town and that thing hauling dirt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
It doesn't really work.
Well, because the minute you're blocking traffic with your excavator and trailer, people are going to kill you. So it's not,
it's
in our area. It doesn't seem like it would, but we came home thinking it was going to be a thing,
I still think it'll catch on in some areas one day. Like how they do it. And they pull all their attachments are with them.
Well, if you're working like in your area right here around Nashville, in the inner city area, that'd be great. Because you just go, move it. You're not like trying to stage material. You're just working out of that bin. Everything's happening.
And they have like 20 attachments. They just set them all off to the side, go get their item for, come back. And I mean, it's pretty wild
and then they know how to put all the attachments into the trailer in like the buckets into the other buckets.
Well, with the tow rotator, the grab. It's pretty special. And they're making like $6 an hour. That was the craziest thing. The money, there was no money for it. Like those operators in Sweden, the economy, the way that works, very, very different. So that's why they need those trailers and all that, those tools is like you can't have a team of 10 guys,
Well, the labor is totally different.
Very, very different.
So, and that's what I tell people is, hey, Europe's had to contend with the constrained labor force for a lot longer than we have. Like if you look up, the lowest birth rates by country of countries in the world, almost all of them are the EU. Yeah. And so, they're going to have a significant, they haven't had a significant population problem because of the massive influx in migrants, because of their open border policy, which is pretty wild to see how entire demographics have changed within like a 10-year period. Like English people are a minority in London. And no matter how you think about that, like for that to happen within like a 10-year period is pretty just incredible. So anyway, so that's lessened the burden a little bit, but they're still going to have the problem because even with migrants get old. And then when they move here, they start to have less kids, et cetera. It's the same in the States. Yeah. But they've just had to do more with less. So you can't have 7 laborers standing around. One guy with a machine. The guy with the machine has to figure everything out.
Yep. Yeah. Well, they figured out how to do it. So.
Yeah, but that's where. But then like Shay's taken that and applied it in Aspen, and the guys on the ground love the equipment because now they have to do less back-breaking work all day.
Yeah, same with our guys. I mean, every machine that has an Encon will be, if you put 2 machines next to each other, one's got a rotator, one doesn't, they will use whatever size it is, they'll use the one with the rotator before the other machine all day long. Like it just solves all your problems. Like the ability to use that tool changes their daily workload.
Yeah.
So, and they love it. I mean, we love it.
Also, I think the tilt rotators for us are just part of it, grade control, all that stuff, but it sets your team up to win. So the guys feel good about it. And we talk about it quite a bit. If you feel good all day, you go home happy, you come back in the next day, you're happy. Like you're trying to improve not just our productivity and bottom line, but like their lives are better if they go home happy, whereas if they just beat against concrete all day, they're kind of miserable and not happy going home. So I think that's something that's cool. And we've different things where we go out and see other things at job sites or other countries or whatever. I feel like helps build that, in our company.
But there's almost like this, like the crusty old guy mentality is like, because my body's destroyed and I'm bitter and I'm miserable, for sure, you need to be bitter and miserable too.
That's a cultural thing. You need to, but you can work through it because we've worked through it.
No, you can, but how many companies are out there making fun of grade control? And you're like, why?
It's
still, right? Like
it's embarrassing. You're still making fun of it. I'm embarrassed for you.
Dude, yeah, come on.
Like I thought we were late to the party, and it's like, are you kidding? I mean, there's companies out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It blows my mind. And you're like, really? You just want to do it the hard way just because you did, not even 5 years ago, like we're talking 40 years ago.
Yeah.
That's where I don't get that.
Well, there's just, the evidence is there. It's been proven. The quality goes up. The rework is down all the way across the board.
Sure.
Working without it is silly. Like owning machines that don't have grade control now, it's like, you have smart machines and you have dumb machines.
Yeah.
How do you want your workers to, how are you equiping your guys?
Mm-hmm.
The smart way or the dumb way? The dumb way is like, we just guess, right? You get really good at guessing, but you're still guessing.
Yeah.
Like that you're in the right place at the right grade, or you can be dead on first pass. And that's where, I think for us, it's exciting because you're utilizing young guys that want to be here, like the guys that want to be in this industry, and you're expediting that training process to getting them to doing they know that they're performing at a high level and utilizing a tool. But in today's age, like that's where young people want to do. They want to be productive. They want to make money, and people are blurring that lines and saying like, well, young people don't want to work. No, they want a reason to work. Yeah. Like give them a reason to work and a valuable contribution, and they'll show up every single day and work hard. And it's a different, but that the tools are changing that because they feel good about accomplishing, like they're a professional at a young age, early 20s, like a very good operator, because the tool gave them the confidence. They weren't worrying if they were in the right place, and you can kind of leave them alone. You can put them on a stockpile loading trucks for months and they're not messing up the grades below because, grade control keeps them from doing that. So It gives them the confidence to keep going. And you just shorten that training span to, Yeah,
the resistance to stuff like that, just to me, I get like you need to still know the fundamentals of how to make grade, how to, do what you need to do in a machine without technology. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. But like the resistance to it, like, well, what if the internet goes out? It's like
who's resisting? Because I don't find that it's always the ownership or leadership that's resisting. It is typically some, right? But these are people that are like phasing out and not, they just don't want to. They're in that last 10% of their career or their business, and they're just riding it out.
Well, it's just, to me, it's super silly because they'll be like, oh, it's, this technology is stupid. And then they'll go get into a brand new truck.
Yes.
And it's like, well, where's your 1980 single cab?
Yeah. I always loved it. Like, the trolls on social media are holding onto a smartphone and texting like, you don't need all that. And I'm like, well, what's with the phone? Why don't you just write me a letter? Like, it's just so silly.
So you have single pane windows in your house? Like it's just, it really cracks me up sometimes. Like, do you not, you can have whatever belief you want.
I think the majority of the people in that group though are, the crusty old guys that are afraid of being replaced by a young guy that's like quick with technology and can actually do what they're doing faster.
Sure.
So, and in their defense, they've spent an entire lifetime building skills to take a D8 that you cannot see the cutting edge and like really push dirt. That's not easy to do. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
But if the machine has all these sensors that can actually carry the maximum amount without, and keep traction and all those things that's factoring in, you're getting the same dirt moved. So that's where, who wants to sit in autonomous trucks? Like who wants to go in a coal mine and do 76 trips up and down out of the mine all day for years when the truck can drive itself? Like go do something else.
Yeah.
But the guy that did that feels bad that, it's like you're just, had to do he felt
9
really,
years in a truck.
And he dedicated his life to showing up, whether he felt good or not, good days, bad days, whatever was going on. He was dedicated to that job and he found value in that.
Yeah.
And so it's hard, it's hard to say like, oh, we didn't actually need you to do that. The machine could do it itself.
Sure.
So I get that side of it. But here we are with the technology now. Like, do you want your kids to go and just drive in that truck all day, every day? Or can they go manage 50 trucks doing that, and have that job where like, there's just different, there's a side there that gets sensitive where it's like, but I put my whole life into learning how to run that dozer,
It's odd because, especially when you look at like a parent and child, like, I've started to notice this more and more. Like, as a parent, I feel like the ideal situation is your child doing much better than you've done.
Yes.
But I feel like when that happens, it can actually hurt your ego.
Yep.
And
That is fine.
like, while that's your intention, it can then materialize in this totally different way.
It's insecurity.
Yeah. And it's like, you should want the next generation to do better. Like that, isn't that the goal of humanity? Like that, isn't that why we're all here? We're trying to improve. We're trying to get humanity to a better place.
Stops it. And it's the same with the crusty old operator who's like, you can't be better than me on day one. Like you're 18 years old, and yet that dozer just, actually don't even need a person in the dozer. Like that's frustrating. So that's where getting past that is like educate people to say like, here's what we can do. Like on our little company, dollar-wise, this is what we can do. We invest in this thing. We're not getting rid of you.
Mm-hmm.
You can stay here.
Yeah.
You can actually make more money because look at the volume that we can do and the level that we can do. And we're not wasting money on fuel. We're not wasting money on rework. Sure. We're just out there like being productive every day, providing a high quality service for our customers. But we don't have to necessarily get in the ditch and dig it by hand. Like we can do it with these other tools. And that's where, that's just a education process, and it takes time to educate people. Once you get them on board, we've got guys that weren't huge fans of it day one and now absolutely love it. Because that same guy that's insecure about that is insecure about being left alone, reading prints, or, worried if he's on grade. So now you put a screen in his machine and he can dig right to grade. He's confident there. So it's just to me, it's just bringing it all together, talking with your guys, explaining the value. Why are you doing it? You're not doing it to replace people. You're not doing it to eliminate people. You're doing it to make their life better, specifically their world better, which makes the whole company better.
Well, it makes the company more money. And if you make more money, you can buy better equipment, pay people more, get nicer trucks, like
across the board. It's a better process. And that's why you're there, right? To provide a quality service and to have good equipment and to be better. I mean, at least for us, that's like a big drive of what we're about,
When did you guys take over?
It was a long, slow process of taking over.
Yeah, I know. It was
probably like over 20 years. Our father started kind of just backing off of the field work. He had some medical issues that kind of pushed him out of machines. He fell like when he was 7 years old out of the haymow and had scarring on his brain and all kinds of neck issues. Wow. He's always had stuff and had to kind of restart life at 7 years old. So those issues never went away. So when he's in like a dozer for hours, he would like get all lightheaded. And so kind of as soon as we could take machine, get in the machines and stuff, he was always allowing us, not directly because of that, but it definitely, as we, later, you're just like, let me do it. And so then that allowed us to be on the job site more. He was more in the office. And then the less he was on the job, the more pride we had in doing the work. And we felt like we were running the jobs at pretty young ages.
Sure.
I would say 20s. Like early 20s, he was like letting us run stuff. I mean, mostly residential stuff, but we got that pride out of it and figured out that we could do it, and so it was a great way to learn, which I actually look now having kids, like how do you build that confidence in them is, because I don't think everyone does a great job at that always. So some parents do, some parents don't, especially when it comes to business.
Well, and especially when you make more money and your lifestyle is nicer. And your kids think that's normal. Like that's how I grew up.
Oh, yeah,
you've
different.
Got a nice ass lifestyle, but you, as a kid, you don't know any better. You just think that's average. Like you think that's the state of affairs.
I think that's the struggle, right, between second and third generation. First generation, it's just like hard.
They're just dogs. Like
just
first
hard.
generation,
you're
you gotta
basically
be a
doing
fucking
it
dog
with a goal of making it better, but every day's hard.
Yeah.
Second generation, you're like, glad I'm not first generation, right? So you're like, we couldn't be here without Gen 1. So now how do we capitalize on that and turn it into something? Third generation comes along and it's like, well, we kind of have everything, right? So do you have to work hard or can this just kind of run itself? And that's where the fear is like, how is it lost in that generation? So that's where, like my son, we started him, he's a couple days a week in the shop, just working for our shop foreman, and he gives them all kinds of stuff and he's learning how machines work and how do you fix it? And I wouldn't say that's his career path, but it's a great foundation of like understanding. You can see the value of maintenance. You can see the value of, you know, taking care of things or early intervention on wear. And that's what, you know, those little things I think we can teach them, put kids in machines at a young age in a safe environment, you know, and get them excited about the industry, but not, you know, there's just no way, like life is not as hard as it was for generation one. So they're just not growing up. You know, we grew up, there was no money. There was no, you know, a lot of the reason why our machines are so shiny today is because we only had a couple of machines and we really took care of them.
Sure.
Because it needed to be of good value when you went to replace it. So
yeah,
that carries over.
The kids thing too is quite interesting because you can't, if you don't have parents in it with machines, legally you can't really get a job in it until you're 18 in most cases.
Yeah.
There's some gray area between 16 and 18, but like I couldn't end up in it until I was 18, legal working age. And at that point, it's kind of too late for most everybody because the pull of the education system, it's just designed to pull you in a different direction. So you have gravity saying, we're going over here. And unless you get them early or you somehow manage to escape that gravitational pull that is higher education, corporate America, finance, whatever it is, like it's hard to get out of that world. And it's just, it's like, how do you get to those younger people? I mean, but when you can't legally put them in a machine anymore.
For us, I mean, that's why we do a demo day every year. It started off as an NCon demo day, and it's kind of grown into just a bigger space. And I wish more people would do that across the country.
It's pretty huge. Like, how many people did you guys have?
We had like 700 people show up at our shop, you know? It's pretty cool. We had 21 different dealers bring equipment out and support it. And the amount of people that bring their kids, and you see the kids, I mean, I think that's the best part is you see kids getting on machines and just getting excited about machines. And that's the feeling that's why we do this. That's why everybody in this industry is because you get excited about the machines and then you figure out how to do the work and then you get a passion for accomplishing things and high quality and then it grows from there. But the machines is the draw to this industry. Like if you like machines, that's why you're here. So if you can get a kid on a machine early, get them around it, especially if it can be an annual thing. You know, we've only done it 3 years now, but it's, you see, we had a mom who messaged me on Instagram and said, hey, you know, we're way down in, forget where it was, like down below Delaware, maybe even Virginia. And she's like, we want to come up. I want to bring my kids. Can anybody just show up? And I was like, yeah, of course. Make sure you let me know you're coming, you know. But like, that's pretty cool. Like people just want their kids to be around machines and it's a safe environment where they can come and, you know, walk around them and it's not a free for all at all. Everything's, you know, controlled. But just to get that passion, to get excited about being around equipment, that event is great for that. And I really do wish people would just take that model and do it. Because if every town had one once a year or every state had one, you would just bring more people into the industry. We have a guy that used to be a competitor of ours on a small level for a little bit, went into business. And the story was that when our father was doing his work at his father's house, he took the kid, put him on his lap, and they ran a dozer for a little bit. And he grew up and wanted to own dozers. And you know, from that, you know, probably a 15-minute encounter with an experience there that just, you know, kind of pulled him in that direction. So the more we can get kids on machines, around machines is just a cool opportunity.
Well, and it's like from a workforce development standpoint, it's a bunch of adults trying to figure it out with adult perspectives on it. And they're trying to like rationalize it. Well, you can make a great, you know, living and so like they'll give all the rational adult reasons for why. But it's like, I don't know, my desire to be in the industry was not big picture motivated. It was, there was a 385 work in my neighborhood. I thought it was the coolest fucking thing I'd ever seen in my life. Like that. For sure. I could not like the size of that machine when how big the fucking cylinders were and what the smell of the dirt, you know, and the sound of gravel. I think it was a C model. So it was just roaring and the smell of the diesel and the grease and like,
There's nothing better.
Dude, it is intoxicating. Like it just, it's like, this is what I want.
Yep.
That's like, it's not, and I know there's parents and I know there's other stuff involved. It is more complicated, but it's not more complicated in a lot of ways.
No, that's the draw. Whether people admit it or not, that's the draw to this industry is the equipment, being around it, and it's cool.
It's cool.
It's just exciting as a young person. That is an exciting thing to be around. So, we grew up. Our grandfather had tractors and all kind. And you're just like riding on the fender or jumping in the back of his pickup.
But I think that's, years ago, like a lot of kids grew up in the country or on a farm, so they were around equipment more. But I think one of the biggest things is like seeing a cool piece of equipment and then being able to accomplish a task with it. Yeah. And once you do that, you get that it kind of is self-motivating because you feel like you accomplished something. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that the industry at a young age, when you say 18, at 18, they've kind of moved on to finding other accomplishments. And when you can get them, which I don't know how to do it, but if you get them on equipment younger, now they're getting that accomplishment from the equipment. The equipment's
mow your own lawn.
So it kind of
just get your kid a lawnmower and have him mow the lawn. Yeah. They'll get excited about machines just right there. I mean, mowing the lawn, then you you're cleaning the mower and then you're striping the lawn and you just it's an exciting thing to do. But everybody just has a lawn service. Like nobody has time for that. Like
you have to be intentional about it though.
Yes,
like you
100%.
have to be deliberate about, hey, I'm going to tell the lawn service to not do the lawn.
Yeah. Well, it's easier as a parent. It's easier to hire the lawn service. It's cheap. It's done. Yeah. It looks great. Yep. Right? Yeah. Your lawn will look like crap, but your kid will grow. Uh-huh. So what what matters more? So that's thought. Where, I think that there are ways for just about everybody to get kids on machines, and a lawnmower is like great. I mean, that's what we grew up, lawnmower. And the challenge, we had this little cart behind a lawnmower, and backing that thing up was like, it's all 4 feet long. Mm-hmm. It was terrible. Yeah. But you learned. And then we went from that to like tractors with like this old manure spreader that we would drag around as kids, and four-wheelers with carts. And like you just played until you figured out that you can accomplish tasks that were meaningless. We were just moving stuff. But you got a passion for like doing something.
Sure.
And that's what, if people want to be in this industry, there are ways to get kids excited. It just,
But I also think even at 18, 19, and 20s, like getting that sense of accomplishment, like going out and doing something, and that's where going back to like grade control, if you can put a kid on a dozer and he's only run a dozer a few times and you give him a pathway to success. And at the end of the day, he's like, I graded that. He's going to want to come back tomorrow, or other, whatever tool it is that he's using. And I think as an industry, that should motivate us to adopt some of these newer practices, because it actually sets them up to win, and it will draw young people to the industry, more than what we've done in the past, where it's just like, well, you're going to shovel this ditch until you get good at that. And then you'll go to the next, you'll learn how to run grade and then prep concrete. And, so it just keeps, but it's years of hard work. Like you can set them up day one to win, and then they're going to want to come back.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, and everybody wins. Like they win, crew wins, company wins. Like why don't we want that? And maybe they're quote unquote soft compared to the previous generation that kicked rocks for 5 years before they did anything else. But if that's soft, I'm fine with it. Like I'm pretty soft, but I don't know. I'm doing fine.
But we're running softer machines today, right? We've got massaging seats and machines and heated and cooled and climate control. I mean, and you push a button and it cuts grade. Like it's a softer world, right? Sure. So, and technology has put us there. But still, like you need people that want to be there. You need people to provide that service, and it's. I don't know, that fun, if you get excited about it if you ever get excited about equipment, I believe you can always find that excitement again in the industry. So like if it excites you and you get into it, it doesn't fade. Yeah. Like if you like cars and you get into cars and you get into racing, like it never goes away. You chase that thrill. The same as like chasing the thrill of a quarter mile. You chase the thrill of like pushing a big blade of dirt or grabbing a big bucket of, with the excavator or whatever. Like that feeling just comes back over and over. And and that can be in any industry, just specifically in this industry, since we like moving dirt, that's I think if you can get kids involved at an early age, and maybe that's something for you with BuildWit to create a channel for kids that like educates and teaches at a younger level,
Yeah.
But like even for our guys across all age groups, your platform with the training just changes things. It opens up, like we don't always have the conversations about simple things. And sometimes you miss the learning about those simple things, changing topics a little bit. But then, that's where that drip method of a little video every day coming in and just, it helps people to grow and appreciate or understand what they're doing a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, I think if you can get younger guys on that, we can push out videos to people without having to explain almost like simple tasks that might be discouraging for them. Like, really, you're going to teach me how to sweep a floor? I don't need to. I can just send these videos.
Sure.
And they learn those things. And it seems like simple. Like everybody can sweep a floor. Not everybody can sweep a floor.
No,
They actually can't.
They certainly can't.
I would say the majority of the time people can't sweep a floor. It doesn't actually go easy. And it's because no one ever educated people how to sweep a floor.
Sure.
So those same simple things across the whole industry, that platform's been huge for us just in creating that culture of learning and getting people excited to learn.
Yeah, that's what I think what the most exciting thing for us is just the culture of learning, the culture of learning and the loss of fear of mistakes.
Yeah.
Because once you realize like you're learning and there's benefits to learning, you lose that fear of like, somewhere I read the other day, it was like the only way to never make a mistake is never do anything. And it's so true. Like every time you do something new, you make a mistake.
Yeah.
But who cares, right? Now you learned it. And I think young people, same thing. Once they've learned it, they check that box off and they're like, okay, now I know how to run a dozer, and they move on to the next thing, you know? And I think that becomes a source of inspiration that keeps you going.
Well, and I think the earlier you can learn how to learn, the better. Because like the further you get in life, the more hardened you become and risk adverse you become and less prone to experimentation and learning, et-cetera. And so it's a lot harder than to teach somebody who's further in life on average.
You're a lot more afraid of failure.
Because there's just a higher cost, or they've closed their mind, or, well, I already know how to do it. I don't need to learn how to do it, even though they're maybe doing it wrong. But the younger minds are just typically more malleable. And so if you can teach them even how to learn, like I'm like, that is even something that I've realized how to learn.
I feel like I'm just learning how to learn.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy because at my age, I feel like I should have learned a lot, and I have, but like a lot of my, I was just talking to you this morning about, I forget what it was. It was something about learning
just like
sorry, I forget, but it was funny because you come across things in books and it sends you down in directions that you never thought of before. And I think that,
once you learn, like, I don't know how to put it in words, but once you learn that you can learn anything,
sure,
the sky's the limit. Right. So like in this industry or any other industry, any hobby, anything, like once you realize that you can learn how to do something, and that's where young people, like, they're still learning everything in life, right? So they show up, you teach them how to run a backhoe, you teach them how to run an excavator, teach them how to, shoot grades, whatever. They're learning. So it's very easy for them to also learn how to build a skyscraper because it's just the next step. But you get to a point where you're like, I know everything on this site. I know how to do it all. I don't want to learn anymore. You don't even like consciously do that. You don't feel like it's an option for you because you're good at this and you're just going to stay in your safe space. So you're not trying to learn, but at that younger age, the quicker you can kind of keep that ball rolling of learning and teach people, there's no fear on that level.
Yeah, I feel like when there's momentum, like it's harder to, progress. It's like forward. As long as you keep it going, like you've got to nurse it. You got to be intentional about it. But once you have momentum, it's so much easier. And once you start to learn too that, wow, learning about stuff I enjoy is actually fun. I like this. Then you can, like, we're conditioned growing up. Learning sucks for most everybody. Like,
because the school system doesn't make learning fun.
It's brutal. It's
like memorize this stuff so you can pass the test. That's basically your experience in school.
And you do that through your most formative years for 2 decades.
And so you take young people today, they're like, I don't need to learn history. I can just ask Siri and I know it immediately, and probably, like a current answer, not something from a book that was published 25 years ago.
Sure.
So some of that is like, do you actually need to learn that stuff? Do you need to know it?
Like now,
or can you just look it up?
like reading was not fun for me growing up. I read every day now.
Yeah.
I only read books I want to read.
But why?
Which
because
makes
you found the value in reading, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So that's where like you show the value. Like a young person wants to learn something on a site. If they don't know the value, you're just force feeding them information. Mm-hmm. As soon as they understand that they can run the job, or they can make more money, or have a kind of choose their own path through learning. Well, now it's exciting, right? Like that's why you read, because you are benefiting from what you're reading. You're not inventing the wheel. You're taking what someone else has proven, through a lot of hard work. And so, you can just take the nuggets from that and apply it in your life and better your life. Yeah. Same thing with learning. It's like, you just have to show that value to young people. And as soon as you show that value and you kind of create that process, well, now they're all in on, we've got guys watching hundreds of videos on their own. Mm-hmm. And from other platforms too. I mean, there's a ton of ways to, all over.
I mean, even Instagram now is just loaded with good stuff. Yeah.
It's incredible how much you can learn just by wanting to and looking for it.
But showing the value, I think, is key. Like, mm-hmm. I try to be really diligent about that. Like, listen, I'm not being a prick about you being organized just to be a prick about you being organized. Yeah. Like, I'm being a stickler on this, because if you're not organized, that's like the foundation of your whole life. Mm-hmm. Like nothing else works. If you can't keep up with very simple shit, nothing else works. Yeah. Like you don't really work very well as a spouse, as a parent, as a member in the community, as a person at this company.
You're
like
a train wreck.
Yeah. And no one wants that. And no one's clearly taught you.
Full of anxiety and full of stress.
You're full, you're stressing out all the time.
Yeah. But you get organized, and all of a sudden everything gets easy.
Yeah, but it's not like, hey, just get organized. It's like, get organized because it's going to take stress off you. It's going to allow you to be more effective. You're going to have more time to then dedicate yourself to other stuff. Like, you're going to be better as a result.
Life's easier.
And if you're better, I'm better, team's better, company's better. We all win here. Yeah. Like, it's not a lose-lose.
Yeah.
So that's a crazy thing, like in our business, to realize that. And then how do you implement it? And I think that's our biggest goal the last few years is like, okay, now I'm excited because I see, like when you start seeing things come together, like if you start organizing, all of a sudden you're like, oh, if we could organize the next guy down and the next guy down. And, so how to implement that stuff, it's super interesting and sometimes hard, sometimes easy, but it's been fun to watch in our own business.
I think it's hard for construction because there is this almost immediate gratification to like, you move a pile of dirt.
It's moved.
I mean, you can move it in a few hours. It was here. Now it's over here. It's spread out. We cut the grade. Like you get that immediate sense of gratification. Whereas with people, sometimes it takes 6 months, a year. I mean, especially you guys have seen it when you're trying to change culture. That's a multi-year endeavor. And it
doesn't work for everybody.
And it doesn't work for everybody.
We lost 2 guys last year that were new, came to the company, both like tractor trailer drivers. We're using them to, move equipment around and jump between trailers, different, hauling gravel and hauling machines. And our processes have changed tremendously from what our competition is doing. The competition is like, there's the truck, there's the machine, move it.
Yeah, figure it out.
Ours is like pretty detailed in how we're going to move the machine and why we're going to move the machine. And the whole process is of like how we, they don't want to watch training videos as a truck driver. They don't get it. And so they don't want to, they're like, I'm going to go back to what I was doing. I'm going to go back over the road, or I'm going to go work for this guy who's kind of phasing out of life. And the reason they left for this, like the same reason that they came here because they were excited about doing more. And then they realized they don't want to do more. They want to go back to that. So that's fine. Like we encourage people, if this isn't for you, it's okay. But we're trying to build a team that is an A player, right? Performing at a high level. And there's something I read about teams, and then they're like the difference between having the culture of your business being a family versus a team. Like family, you accept like inabilities and
dysfunction essentially.
Yes, you accept like, this guy, he's all right, but he's my
brother,
he's my cousin or whatever. Like that's your thing. And so, but really, like if you look at a high performing sports team, that's not a basis of why they're on the team. If they're not good, if they're not performing at the peak of their competition, they're not on the team.
Sure.
And it's okay. They can be on a different team. There are plenty of teams to play on, but not on this team.
Yeah.
So when you go to that that concept, it kind of changes things. So I mean, one of the things we try and do is bring people in for a week or two to work with us before they just quit their job, or like if you want to come over here, talk with your employer, communicate that, hey, I'm thinking about a move, but don't give up what you have to come over here and find out this isn't really for you. Because if it's not for you, or if we don't feel like you're a good fit, or you don't feel like you're a good
generally,
fit.
Yeah. If you don't like it, we don't like it either.
Yeah.
So like, just come work for a day if that's all you've got.
Mm-hmm.
See if it's a good fit for you. And if so, well, now we're on a team that's performing at a high level. Because if you don't really want to grow, if you don't want to be trained and figure out how to learn, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like there's plenty of people that are doing work that they do good work, but it's just not the style that we're striving for,
Yeah. There's no right way to do it. Like you can still be that. Yeah. We're the family business, we're, the longer you're here, the more you're valued. And we, some guys have been here for 30 plus years, and that is what we celebrate. And we're going to keep on down that path.
Well, we're trying to build a team that sticks around like this is a career. So
sure,
come here with the idea of like, this is for a long time, not like it's a temp job for, get me through a year. But I'll take those guys.
Yeah.
Like if you explain like, hey, I'm going to be moving. This is what I want to do. This is my experience. If you're willing to work hard, no problem. We'll work with you. We'll help you to grow to wherever you're going. I have no problem with that. Like that's paying it forward to the community. That's no problem with that understanding. But I don't want to bring people that don't want to be here. And that becomes a little bit of a cancer for other people because it's just the negativity and the undertone of like undermining what we're trying to do.
I just think it's like I just had this conversation the other day. It's it's not unconditional, it's conditional. Like me as an employer, I have certain conditions I have to meet for people to be here. Like one is paying them. That's a pretty simple condition, but there's other conditions I must meet for them to stick around.
Sure.
And then for me to keep them here and meet my conditions, they have to be meeting their conditions.
Yep.
And it doesn't really matter how long they've been around. Like they might have a little bit more leeway down the road, but those high performing teams, if you're not performing, you don't stick around. Like they still have turnover as well. Like everybody has turnover, I feel like, or not everybody. Sometimes you don't have turnover, which I think is its own problem. It creates this like stagnant, whatever it is. But there's
existing
high turnover that's dysfunctional. That you just, we just can't keep people, this and that. And I hear that if I had $1 every time I heard that, I'd be really good to go. But then there's the other side of things where it's like there's almost the forced turnover.
Yeah.
It's instead of driven by the person, typically, like at the other side, it's typically driven at the employee level. People turning over, either leaving for $1, not wanting, I was lied to, and I want to go elsewhere, so on and so forth. And then the other side, it's like, I feel like it's the team, the employer driving the turnover in a sense. Like you're constantly trying to elevate your people based on where you need to go. And sometimes people just don't want to come along, and that's, it's not their fault at all. And like, if you just want to drive a truck, I don't blame you at all. Like a truck driver is a great example. You're kind of a lone wolf. Like
you are.
You like traditionally eat what you kill.
They're in their truck because they're they don't want to be around.
Yeah, you're an
good
outlier.
with like, I'm going to go out for the day. I'm going to drive 9 times from there to there.
Yes.
And I'm going to come back.
Yeah, I don't want to be part of it.
Not everybody has that mentality or that like the drive to go and be high performing in that space. So it does take a special person to do that.
Yeah.
But it's how do you take that guy? And that's why I like the truck driver examples, because they're kind of self-regulated, and their drive has to be from within to go and be a high performer in there. But then take that guy and want him to improve his process or join your quest of like high performance in care of, we bought this little quarry and it's on a pretty quiet part of town, and it was opened in the 60s, and it's not a big quarry where people are just like banging trucks. And so people have lived there
Yeah.
Not expecting it to be a live quarry, and here it is. Now it's opening as a
you're
quarry.
Just ripping down with your Jake.
So that's the whole thing. It's like, how do you go in there? How do you go in there and be cool about like being a good neighbor?
Yeah.
Like, yes, we happen to be blasting and crushing and hauling rock out of there, but how do you do that in a way that you're as low impact as possible, right? So how do you train that? Like, even just as a learning thing, like how do we go in there and be courteous as, you know, a steady stream of trucks for the next who knows how many years?
Yeah, the truck driver thing too is I've always found it odd how it's like an adversarial relationship between the truck drivers and the people on the site, because it's like
interesting.
I understand the frustration on both sides, but listen, you can't do shit on a job site without truck drivers. Like,
it's a very important part of the job.
Like nothing, even if you don't have materials on the job, how'd your equipment get there?
Everything that happens on that job is because a truck brought it or is taking it away.
It's like why? So why are we all? Why is everybody up in arms over one another? Like this it is a team effort, because without those truck drivers, nothing happens.
Historically, you know, the site is waiting on whatever the trucks are coming. So that's the truck driver's fault. The truck driver has a lot of time to get on the radio and talk with the other collaborators.
They don't know
other drivers
there.
about what's happening on the site and why they had to wait so long. So, you know, there's...
It's
but again, build that team, build it where they're supporting, and the field understands that they're relying on the truck. So like, how can you guys work together to be one team, not trucks versus pipe crew? You know, like how do you bring them together?
Yeah.
And that is part of the education process of like building a team that, you know, can you have time where they actually spend time together?
Sure.
You know, create spaces for that or opportunities and recognize people. Like one thing we do is we have a team meeting every Tuesday morning with the whole company, 20, 30 minutes just on Zoom. So wherever anybody is, trucks, wherever, pull over in the quarry, log in on your phone. Everybody's on it, the whole company. Yeah. And it doesn't matter every level. And when it's just 20 minutes for us to take time. And sometimes we'll assign different guys in the company or ask them to, you know, give a little 10-minute thing. We just had a guy talk about nutrition, exercise, the importance of that.
Sweet.
All different things.
But sometimes like being a good neighbor, you know, like what does that mean? Does that mean you're working at one parking lot and you're just parking our trucks on the neighbor's property, or, you know, or you're driving to the quarry, or are you turning the Jake brake on? You know, that kind of stuff.
Or you roll up first thing in the morning you're going to start a development next to people, and the day one you interrupt the school bus and mom trying to and the mailman and like,
tracking out mud everywhere.
Like how can you be a better part of the community? And so when you talk to the whole company that way, it also gives you opportunity to recognize certain people. Like, hey, the other day we got a call about such and such that was pretty awesome, you know, and you share that with the company. It makes people, you know, but you're building that team spirit because you're bringing everybody together and talking about like, here's where we're at. Here's the jobs we're working on. You know, you get a good 8 minutes worth of motivational, something you read in a book, and to kind of explain the value of that to us, and then go through some safety things. And that platform isn't used ever for anything negative. It's 100% positive space. So like you go into that meeting with, you know, some training stuff, but for the most part, it's about just putting everybody on the same page. And I think if people take more time to do that, put your team together, there's less opportunity for division and competition and everything else.
Yeah, I'm surprised why more people don't do that, especially with how easy it is now.
It's so simple.
And like the remote thing is now, that's a mute point. Like you can, like you said, you just have everybody do it wherever they are, and it doesn't really slow down production or anything
20
like that.
minutes, the value of that, everybody understanding, like you can go to sites, right? You go to a site for a year and maybe you never you're not connecting with another crew over here. But if every week you see them, you're together and you know what they're doing and they know what you're doing, you feel like a team. You're accomplishing the same thing.
Plus another thing, even like the way we do our dailies, they can go any, I believe all the foremen and most of the guys can go on any job and see all the pictures from the other job sites, which is kind of cool because you take pride. You're like, oh, look at that. Because we talk about it on Tuesday and say what the other jobs are doing. Yeah. But like they can actually go look at their pictures and be like, oh, look at that. They got that building's up, or that, you know, that slab's prepped, or whatever, road, you know, driveways in. So it's kind of cool because it brings, the company feels accomplishment together, which does, you know, do something.
People just want to know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Like,
wow. That's what, who I forget who told us that, or read it somewhere. It was like, what team only the owners know the score, right? If a team was playing a game and only the owners know and no one else knows only what's going on. Yeah. You're like, you would leave the game. You wouldn't share more numbers. As a spectator, you wouldn't be there.
Sure.
So like, how are the players going to know if they don't even know what you're doing?
Well, if you don't know you're down 1 run in the 9th.
Yeah.
Like if you know you're down 1 run, you know you can make it up, right? So you're going to do everything you can to win. If the coach is out there screaming and you don't know if you're winning or losing, that's, so communicate that. Like,
that's what typically happens. Now you're all pissed off because it's like they don't get it. Like,
why are we even doing
We're
this?
down.
And you're like, why?
It's the
we
9th.
Just need 1 run.
We've got to fucking go. Yeah.
Maybe tell them. So like share some numbers, share some of where you're at and what's going on and what the challenges are and all of those
Which
things.
is not typical. Like even we've found even with our competition, the more we talk with our competition, just yesterday we got a job and we actually gave a competitor, we gave a reference of our competitor on a job. The guy called our competitor. The competitor called me and was like, hey, I talked to this guy, seems good, whatever, and gave me more information than I had on the job. And then 20 minutes later, I got an email that said we got the job. And I was like, oh, that is crazy.
You used our direct competitor to get us the job because you share information, talk about it. Like if you see someone else's machine on a job and you've got a bid, an invitation to bid, call them. What's going on over there?
Sure.
I got this invite to bid. Can we, and he's like, yeah, I wouldn't work for those people. Or yeah, I think I've got the job but can you do the trucking? Or like, you're just collaborating and you're building your team. Now that's actually another resource for your team to be successful. And then all of a sudden you're doing trucking together and you're doing, there's opportunity for growth. Yeah. But I think people are so afraid
they're afraid of communication.
That it's
their own
theirs.
guys, with their own company.
Yeah,
with their
that they're losing ground by sharing information with their guys. And
well,
it's a silly concept.
It's that defensive mindset, but it's also hard. Like it does require a lot of education because they've never been taught even what to do with the information because they've never had it at any other employer.
Yeah.
So you can't just talk about certain things and expect them to understand like how money flows through a project. Right? Like you have to teach them the basic, like you have to explain, hey, all right, we got this contract, $1.7 million. That doesn't mean Brian and Tony just got $1.7 million. Like they just wrote us a check. Like, that's not
maybe none of that is yours. Yeah.
It's just like even like finances, I think is the biggest thing. Like the way money flows through a business is totally different than the way money flows through an individual. Like if you're running a deficit as an individual, it's a problem. Like there's certain things you can do in business that you can't get away with in your personal life. Yeah. But they just don't know. People just don't know that. They've never had that information. And if you don't teach them that, sometimes they're going to go take that information, do wild things.
And I think it's often easy. I find myself when something breaks or something goes wrong or something goes overtime to only show the dollar of the expense in that time. That cost us $5,000. That cost $100,000, right? We had to redo that because we didn't read the prints, and so it's $50,000. That's what we have invested in that. And you're kind of like scolding people with that number, and it's like you're trying to shock them into like.
And the number is meaningless.
They don't know what that number means. Yeah. But how about sharing the win? Hey, because we screened that material and we did this and we did whatever, you guys saved the company this amount. Now in the big picture, that means we're able to do this, right? And now they see the value of like thinking and growing. Like share the positive side, not just, you broke that and it cost $50. Like,
sure,
great. Yeah. Oh, I mean, you're just using it to make them feel bad.
Yeah, you need to use your team because you have really smart individuals. Most businesses, I remember one of our a newer foreman came to one of our meetings and he's like, "Why don't you guys get the foreman involved in the bidding process?" And I'm like, that's a cool idea. It seems very expensive to me to have you ride around and look at jobs. Like now I have several people going to a job to estimate the job on a job that we're not going to get probably, But we've come out with some pretty good ideas from that same guy and from other foremen where it's like, okay, we're a little slow. It's raining today. Take these plans and look at them. And they're like, well, how are we going to do this? And they come up with a way to do it. And you're like, oh, all right. And we changed the way we bid it.
Sure.
So you see the benefits of
using. Or they just look at it from a different perspective and you end up value engineering a job that maybe wasn't even going to happen because the foreman
or
gets
the
involved.
foreman calls his friend and he's got some dump site for us right around the corner, that you wouldn't have had access to. So now when you're bidding it, you lower your numbers down because so it's just utilizing your team, because sometimes they have the great ideas. It's not always you, but you have to put that information out there and be willing to trust them to get to the end goal, but they can help you.
But at the end of the day, who's got more passion for that job now? That foreman, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you're only helping yourself by bringing people in. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles in our industry is mom and pop start the job, start the company. They keep everything from the kids. Then all of a sudden the kids are involved one day and they know things. And then the kids they move into that office space and keep everyone else out. And it's like they put the wall up. They went from being very much on this side of the wall with all the guys. Now they're over here. So then there's a weirdness and it's a struggle and then they don't know how to share it. So I think just having those conversations and maybe collaborate, ask some people that are older than you that are doing well. How do you do it?
Yeah.
I mean, for us, that's the biggest resource we have is make friends with guys that have been in the industry longer than us and ask them some of the simple questions. How do you do this? How do you get around?
I feel like they're all so willing to share. I don't know if that was always been that way, but I mean, in the last few years for us, it's amazing the amount of people, both, just locally and through social media and other events where you just meet guys and they're like, you ever think of this? And you're like, that's a really good idea, and you didn't really think of it.
Having conversations, not being afraid to identify the pain points and talk about them, because that's where you come up with solutions. Just keeping it in, you're never going to get a solution. Well, you just struggle.
It takes just a little bit of vulnerability.
Agreed.
I've thought a lot about even just trusting people, and I haven't had a lot of problems with people being untrusting in our business. And I think it's genuinely because I'm very trusting of people. And that's got me bit plenty of times and will only get me bit more going forward. But not really. Because
you're better off for the few mistakes you've had.
I'm just way better off.
That's what trusting. You're moving quicker because you trust people. So now they're on the team and you're working together, as opposed to waiting years to trust them with anything, and they're just present, but not really.
It's always especially from a business standpoint, it's always you're expecting them to be trusting before you give them trust. It's no, that's not how it works. That's not at all how it works. That's
the other way.
You go first. And if you don't go first, you're just going to attract more and more untrustworthy people, and because you don't trust them, they don't
trust you.
No, they're not trusting you. So they're not just even invested. It just then perpetuate, and so many people are stuck in this. I see it all the time. They're just stuck, and they're so negative and bitter, and I don't blame them because they're getting fucked left and right. But it's but from the outside, you can also see you've almost created this reality. You're the architect of the world in which 100%. You live.
Well, that's why you're the boss, right? So you're driving the ship. So it's your plan. So when things are failing or going well, it's because of your direction. Now, the more you allow other peoples to have influence on that, now you have a team. Otherwise, it's just a dictatorship where everyone's stuck under your,
but what's funny is people don't see that.
No.
Right? You would think that would be blatantly obvious. If I make all the decisions, if I orchestrate this whole discussion right now and it's just a total train wreck, whose fault is it? Mine. But people then, he didn't want to talk enough and you want to talk too much. And it's you did it, but they don't. And you would think when they're in that position, they'd open themselves up and read how others do it, call up other businesses and say, how come you seem to be smooth at this? Or how come you win all the bids? What am I doing wrong? And I feel like almost 100% of the time, the people they'll just tell you how to get better. And then, it's up to you whether you want to apply it or not. But that's I think a great thing for us is every time we talk to people, you just get information. You're like,
which social media has just opened that page so far. You can, the reach is unbelievable.
That again, that's another horse that's out of the barn.
Now it's wild.
Yeah. But then you still see these, especially some of these big companies, almost ignoring that social media exists, or still trying to shove it into no, we don't do that. It's just you guys have no clue what's happening here.
I'm glad that we got in. I wouldn't say we were early to the game, but
earlier.
It was a good time that we got in, and
you guys did come in at a good time. When was that?
Maybe maybe 2017 or something like that.
Like,
you know,
roughly when I was me and when like Dane was getting into it.
Not
Ryan,
a lot of people were doing it.
Not many. No,
you know, I mean, people were, but it was pretty quickly. We just started getting friends everywhere,
and we saw it working for us. I mean, going back to that, like when you learn something, when you see wins, it motivates you more. It was like we'd talk to people about stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you got to buy this, or don't buy that, buy this," and you're like, all of a sudden, you're like, "Oh, this is great." It's like, you know, it was you saw stuff working.
It was people like Ryan and Dane. There was so many people that because like how your salesman. I mean, for us, the salesman didn't even know what an NCon was, right? So here, this guy's Ryan's making videos like pretty early on YouTube and different things, like putting stuff out there.
Yeah, he is like Mr.
The
Income.
Godfather of the whole.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of pioneered
even construction and social media. Like he was doing
the influencer space,
in our control.
Yeah. And still, I mean, he's still kind of out in front, finding things, and you know. Yeah. Unfortunately, now we get to travel with him and do stuff, you know, kind of right there along with him and mentor our little group of people. You know, it's amazing how many people call and ask and trust you with their decisions. Like, help me figure this out, this machine, or how do you get a photo of a project, or how do I get a dig next to this? Can I, you know, and they trust you. And that's what, you know, you need those resources. It's just it's such a cool thing. To anyone that thinks that that's going to either one, be a waste of time, or it's going to negatively impact their business. I can't understand. I can't understand it, because it's been, I would say, social media and grade control have been two of the biggest things in our world that just propelled us to the next level and just opened up doors. I mean, nobody knows who you are.
No.
You're just working in this one little town forever. Social media makes you like, people come from out of town and they want to work with us. And you're like, how do they even know who us? We can be hours away. Like it's kind of fun to wear a Dietz shirt around places when you're traveling or in an airport. People just come up and are like, "Hey, I know," you know, like it's pretty crazy.
The reach is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, like we go into quarries in towns we've never been, and they're like, they extend us credit, like they know us, and you're like, you don't really know me. I mean, we do pay our bills, and we're very good and proud about that. But like,
we know who you are.
Don't really know me, but they do. They trust you. I mean,
but you create that value, right? That's your brand.
That
so
trust.
Otherwise, it's such a slow road to do it the old way of just like one customer at a time.
Well, we, like I was saying, we sold part of the business not too long ago, and I've been talking with a bunch of people, and everybody I've been talking to pretty much knows about it.
Yeah.
But in business, and I just saw this morning, I see it every day. When you make a big business move, what do? Press release. You press the press release button, whatever the hell a press release is. I still don't even really know what they are because they don't say anything. Like it's just a bunch of words on a piece of paper that's completely meaningless. And then it gets picked up by these other whoever, and I don't know, like I maybe there's value to it, but we've never done any of that ever. And it's like everybody I'm talking to, I'm like, how's that going? Oh yeah, saw that. And these are people I haven't spoken with in sometimes a year, 2 years.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. Yeah. And it's like, we only put it on social media. Only did it on social media. That was it. And it's
pretty cool.
It's incredible. It blows me up. It to this day.
And the opportunities we've had to attend different events, to be a part of different programs.
Well, you guys are going to Germany next month.
Yeah, I mean, all the time we're traveling and going places, but you know. And that's the other thing. A lot of people think like that's just a big waste of time. Like, you know, must be nice, or like you're not working. And you're like, you don't understand the value of what that brings back to the team.
Sure.
The pride in the team. You know, they'll watch this podcast and get excited because our little company is a part of something bigger.
Yeah.
You know, like it validates what they're doing every day. You know, or we are all doing collectively.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It also changes your processes, like what we were talking about before, where you might just see a different way of putting a barricade around a job site. But also, like if I think it was the first time I went to Sweden, we came back with they kind of choose a career path, and it was like you know, in the States, you start as a laborer, you work up to maybe an operator, foreman, super, maybe project manager. You know, you're working this career path. Yeah. Whereas in Sweden, it was like, if you're going to be an operator, you're going to be an operator. You could choose to be an operator forever, I believe.
Life.
Yeah. And it was like, which is kind of crazy because you take this operator that's really good and then you're going to make him a foreman and he's not that great of a people person.
Well, he's been alone his whole life in that machine, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, you know how to do that really well. So here, go lead a team and do it. And you're like, wait a minute.
But we're going to take
different skill set.
The only skill that you have away from you, which is running a machine. You can't do that.
And then here, watch a bunch of people that aren't as good as you and see if you can get them to perform as good as you, right? It's kind of a, but here, all we know is what is local, right? So our culture here does that.
Sure.
And everybody struggles through it. So the thing that makes you unique is the same as Shay going and finding other technology and stuff. You go and find different processes. So we came back and took our kids.
Yeah, we went to Sweden for a few days, but we came back and it was like we had one of those Tuesday meetings. We said, hey, so the career path that we see and all of us know is not necessarily the one that we want to implement anymore. We want, like, at 20 years old, choose you want to be a foreman or choose you want to be an operator. And you don't have to stick with that forever, but don't think you have to be a laborer to be an operator, to be a foreman. Like, you know, and you see, which is funny because right away we saw a distinction in where guys were kind of liking the operator path and guys were like, I want to get involved in layout more, or I want to, you know, and they were being drawn more to the foreman position.
Well, the foreman actually, the better career path for a foreman is a shovel to a grade stick, to a pipe crew, to a layout, to, you know, site super, right? So like that's because you're implementing the actual thing. Operator's kind of a different path.
Sure.
That's like hand-eye coordination and using machinery to accomplish the task. Total different skill set. So it kind of motivates young guys to stay in the ditch because that's where leadership is going to, that's the direct path to leadership in our eyes, at least right now. It's a different path than operating, truck driving. Here you're running machinery, and this path is like performing the work and then overseeing that work. So you understand that it's just get to go from the ditch into a machine to an office it's kind of a funny path.
Well, with leadership too, there's also a bias. It's because I'm in leadership, everybody wants to be in leadership.
Yes.
And that's not the case at all.
No, everybody wants more money.
Well, everyone wants more money to take care of their family
and make more money.
And it takes the pressure off them as well. Like, fuck, like, all right, I don't have to be a foreman. Like, no, you can be a world-class operator for your career, have a good living, have a nice family, do what you want. Like, it goes on both sides. Like there's, and that's what I think is a little irrational from the whole. There's a lot of, I've realized with the whole workforce development movement, a lot of bullshit right now. And I've been guilty of perpetuating some of it. But like the whole, oh yeah, there's a career path for everybody and everybody can just keep moving up the ladder. It's like, mathematically, no, that's not possible. Okay, you have a 500 person company. How many presidents are at that company? One. Maybe two if there's a co-president. Otherwise, like, no, a majority of the company is still out in the field. A minority of that field workforce is in leadership, is in the crew leaders, is in the superintendent. A majority is in trucks, in equipment, in the ditch, doing the work because there's still work to do. Like I love that we're talking about all this rah. And that's great. Like you can,
top heavy.
You can go from a ditch to running fucking Kiewit if you want to do that. That's possible in this world, which is rare. You can't do that in banking. I'm not going to do that at JP Morgan, you know, or Apple or whatever it is. But I can do that in construction. So you can do that, but that's not the best path for a majority of people, I would say, and not what majority of people want.
Right.
Yeah, well, something that blew my mind, I think it was last week I read, it was like, what's wrong with empowerment classes is all of them basically say, I am going to empower you. And so therefore it's like fundamentally they're flawed because as a leader, I'm going to lead you to be a leader. And it's like, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I'm empowering you. Like, well, no, you have to empower yourself. So it's like, you're kind of talking in this circle. And I find in a lot of stuff that we've done, it's like, you can do that very easily. Just, I'm going to teach you this stuff because I read it. And it's a struggle to actually pull off getting people to empower themselves. Well, to realize that option's there if they choose it, and not just say, I'm going to teach you this, or I'm going to open the door for you.
Saying I'm going to empower you is like some of the dumbest shit you could ever say. Like
doesn't even make sense.
Arrogant that is one. But there's also this leadership class a management class.
Yeah.
They've only been managers their entire life. Yeah. Like they haven't actually done the work. Like they don't, and that's my problem with general contractors. Like it's a lot of chiefs that have never actually put a sheet of drywall on a wall, or have never been in a ditch, or have never done what they're leading.
Well, I know for our industry, like just most GCs don't have a clue. They can't do what you do. Like they may have been framers, they might have been whatever, like they've done some general construction, but most of them have no idea.
But they don't need to know. They just have to have a genuine sense of appreciation, which is oftentimes absent because they've been so far removed from it.
Yeah.
And it's typically not the smaller GCs because they're closer to the work. I'm talking like oftentimes I see this like the mega GCs. They've just gone to school and they got an internship. They counted fucking sheets of drywall for 3 months, check the box, went to go work for this company, have a degree, walk the job. I'm in construction. That looks good with my iPad. And that's important. Like we need leadership, but it's like
that's what's crazy for us because we see it from our perspective, from the site side is like you're actually teaching this guy that's your kind of your boss on a site. We're working for the GC and you're like kind of teaching them what site work should look like.
Sure.
The advantage for us is if that guy stays in the position of, whatever he is, site super.
He can't work without you.
Is he falls in love with you.
Yeah.
If you actually take the time to teach him what it's supposed to look like, he won't. I mean, every site he goes to forever, he'll say these guys are great. So we've used it to our advantage a little bit, but it does. You're like always fighting that battle of educating.
But it requires humility on both sides. You have to have humility to not say, fuck this guy. He doesn't know what we do. He doesn't appreciate what we do. This and that. Like, he asked us to do this. It's the stupidest thing ever. That happens all the time.
Well, and then when they're making your schedule and you're like, that's my money you're playing.
And then from his perspective, it's like he at least has to be have the desire because an understanding that like, hey, I can't build this project without you guys. You're the experts on the subject.
That's where a lot of that like lead up the chain, Jocko's mentality and stuff that like we approach every meeting that way. Like you walk in, you know what you want, you know what needs to be done. You make them look good and it's their idea. And then they're excited. And over time, they can trust you. And then you end up the driving force of their schedule because you apply all the logic to their schedule and allow things to be done in a proper sequence. And it changes there. But then again, they can't work without you because nobody else is doing that.
Sure.
Less people are doing that, and so you just approach that with not only, I'm not walking into this meeting to argue with them or tell them how they screwed everything up. You're approaching the meeting of like, here's our situation. Here's our solution. Here's what we propose. And they're like, well, I mean, this is great. Right?
Well, and they might tell you some information that you don't have access to. Like, listen, I've got somebody else up my ass over here and I have to get concrete in. And I know it's right in your... I know now instead of just laying the pipe across, you've got to go around now. I get it, but it just has to happen this way for the money to flow. And it's like,
but now you have a team with your GC.
Yes. Yeah.
Like another problem solved. So now it's a great, the whole team thing. If they don't communicate that the budgets are what they are, you're frustrated because you're like, why is this concrete guy here? He's the worst one in the county. And that's the guy you're using? Well, we screwed up our budget. We forgot about insulation. And so now we have to use this concrete guy. Okay, tell me that. And I will support the concrete guy so that we can win. Right? I will go and I'll lay out with him. I'll work with him. We'll whatever. But if you don't have that information, if you don't have that team. And so I think a lot of that, like what he's saying is like, sit with them, talk with them. It's another investment. But it's just everything you invest in, you get a return for. So some of that might be less profitable because in the beginning, because you're wasting time with a site super, educating him. But long term, you've built another partnership for success.
Sure. And then even if he goes elsewhere, now he's still...
He brings you with him.
You always run.
Or at least he's saying good things about you. Right? I mean,
you don't just lose.
Yeah, you're not losing. It's definitely worth some time.
Yeah. So how did the contractor of the year thing come about? How does it even work? Do I say, oh, these guys are great, and I write in and submit a ticket, or do you submit yourself, or
both? You can do both. So I think it starts with You can nominate somebody, so you can fill out. It's kind of like part of the application. You can nominate somebody. So we got nominated by somebody, and then once you get nominated, then they ask you to apply. So like, hey, somebody thinks that you're, then you can also just apply. I didn't want to just apply, so we were told we were nominated. So then I applied, and you fill out a bunch of pretty detailed info about your background. You got to turn in your safety ratings. So you have to qualify in that way. Like you got to be pretty legit.
I see.
Pretty tight tolerances on safety, which is important. I mean, that's kind of a pretty clear defining factor.
Yeah.
And then you got to do references. So we turn in some references. They do a bunch of background, and then they come out and interview you and get to see like firsthand who you really are.
Really?
Visit your office, visit your sites, talk to your guys.
They talk to GCs, they talk to references. It's pretty thorough. The amount of stuff that they look through. I was surprised.
So, and it's cool because I think, when you say like a national award of Contractor of the Year, you're like, okay, there's a lot of contractors out there. But I think the value is there's a certain space that dollar amount that categorizes you eligible to apply for that Contractor of the Year. So, when you hit that number and then you go out of that number, the guys that are smaller than that number, which I think is $4 million, it's like between 4 and 20 million.
Okay.
That's kind of
and
a growth.
You have to be in business first.
You got to be 10 years in business and a minimum of 5 machines.
Because not all are necessarily dirt, 100% dirt. They were all dirt contractors, but not
relatively close.
Some were a little bit more GC with dirt operation.
Yeah. I think it's kind of based around equipment, right? So like you're utilizing machines in your
but that's why I got as low as 5.
Yeah.
But then when you win, then they do a pretty in-depth story and all that on y'all. Like I remember, like I was telling you, I was reading them in college and they were, pretty in depth. Like that's why I was so interested in them, because it was the only glimpse into how construction companies, site work companies actually work, like what goes on within these companies, who runs them, et cetera, which I thought was pretty fascinating.
It's a pretty cool thing. I think the guys are super proud. We definitely were proud. I know the first gen, our parents who like started this whole thing and put so much of their life into this business. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like to see it, you pass it on to the next generation, give them the reins, and then they're continuing that legacy and building something. That's pretty cool. And then to get a national recognition, that's it's a good feeling. But for the guys, it legitimizes a lot of the efforts that they put into every day. And, there's a lot of struggles that you go through to even just keeping up with, like, we've got these new initiatives. We're trying to do training and learning and, utilize technology and build teams and crews and tier, different layers of management.
You go to the summit and you come back with this great idea that you're all impressed with, but how do you sell it to everybody else? Then does it actually work?
Some guys are super excited right away.
Get all wound up.
You see their eyes glaze over. They're like, "What are you talking about?"
Another dumb idea.
Like, here we go. But I think in a lot of ways, they, so to me, for the company, it's like, this is working. Like we're not blazing our own trail, but we're definitely on the trail with fewer people. So
it goes back to the same thing. If you implement processes or equipment or whatever that makes their life better, like at the end of the day, they're like, all right, this is working. I'll buy in.
Sure. It's and you're not doing it for the validation, but the validation doesn't genuine validation doesn't hurt. Especially like you said, for your people, like, hey, this isn't just nonsense. We're really making a difference here. We're headed in the right direction.
I know when they first reached out and asked us to apply, my reaction was like, us? I didn't think we fit in the category. Obviously, you think you're trying and working really hard. When you talk about a national thing, you're like, there's a lot of guys out there doing some impressive stuff.
Yeah, but you guys look
really impressive.
You guys look really good. And you guys look bigger too, like from an equipment brand standpoint.
Yeah.
Especially, you guys look bigger than you really are.
Yes.
Like, and you've grown a lot over the past few years too. But it's like, You have and then the social media and everything, the deer stuff. Like,
but isn't that kind of the concept, right? That's to build confidence in people, right? So whether you're demoing a machine or renting a machine or whatever, you're leasing it for a year, that thing's going to be in your content. And it's I would say there's nothing in our content that is fake, but it all, it's, the same as marketing in any way. Like you want to legitimize what you're doing. And so utilizing those different machines, sometimes it's only there for a couple months, but that machine's in your, you're not out like, look at what we bought. That's not necessarily the storyline, but the storyline is like, here's another machine that's amazing that helps us to accomplish what we do and be, build what we're doing. And then what's cool is over the last, I would say 4 to 6 years, we've seen more, being partnership with Deere is huge. So you get access to a lot more events and, be on customer kegs and a part of developing the next machines that are coming out and field follows and all kinds of just cool stuff. But like having access to that has solidified our growth because now we know the value. Like you sit in a room full of 100 engineers and they explain how awesome this machine is and all the value and all the benefits. We're like, how do we buy that machine? And you got to figure out how to come up with $600,000 so you can buy that machine and you can keep going. Yeah. But now we're like, over those few years, like those machines are now in our fleet. Like, so although it looked like we were bigger, we're getting there. Like it's growing. It's scaling.
Yeah, you guys have some pretty good size.
Yeah, we got some good stuff. Yeah.
Pretty nice stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I think for the guys, that's a big thing too, is just like being a part of a brand that has an awesome image.
Yeah.
Not everybody has a great reputation or a great image. Like you might have a good paycheck, but is it like full package? Like are you a part of something that looks good and actually is good behind the scenes? Like you actually care about your machines. You actually keep them nice. And it's not just about a shiny machine. That's your brand. Yeah. Like we struggle all the time with like, at what point, the machines are getting a lot more hours now than when we were, a small crew of people. So you wear them out. Like you actually see the wear and you see the use on the machines more. But that also enables you to buy new machines and keep going and keep that same business model, moving.
Sure.
But yeah, it's to be nationally recognized for anything is pretty cool.
It's super cool.
Yeah. That's a motivating factor to keep pushing.
Did you just go to the John Deere thing they had?
In Sacaton?
Yeah. Was that pretty nice?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was the first time we got out to Arizona with them. But they had a lot of that it was all based around technology. They had the press there, did press releases on 850,
not a big believer.
850X, a hybrid dozer, hybrid 744X tier loader. So electric drives on both of those machines. Pretty cool. The value in that was you can reman those machines at, the typical life cycle when it kind of ends, it's not worth the hydraulics to rebuild those machines. There's nothing left.
Sure.
But with electric, you just swap it out.
Well, and I think they were putting, it was like, what was it, 15,000 hour warranty?
Yeah.
On the electric drives.
Wow.
So, I mean, they're going all,
yeah,
it was
they're going all in.
Yeah. Well, I forget what the years, unlimited hours, 15.
It was all
like 15,000 hours. What was it?
I'd have to check.
I forget. But it was pretty impressive.
We need to look at the press release.
Yeah. I gotta go read Equipment World's article.
No, it looked great. I mean,
and it was cool because you get to play on all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So you can get on, one loader, go to the next loader, and like, okay, for us, I think there's real value to that because it's stuff that you're going to buy at some point, but you're like, okay, do I actually want a 644 or a 744 loader? Or do I want, a 700 dozer, an 850, a 950, a 1050? Like, where is their place? And, even if you're just renting a machine, which machine you want.
Didn't you guys have a real big one for a little bit?
950.
Yeah. The 950 is fun.
That's a big tractor.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a couple projects right now where there might be a 950 coming back. They're just 15.5-foot blade.
Yeah.
With a power angle tilt blade.
It's just silly looking.
That's a lot. It's so big. And it's smart grade. So it's cutting right to grade, all full autos. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Deere, they've been great to us. They've been a great
Deere,
a great partner. I mean, we've used their Arizona facility. We've used their Coal Valley facility. We'll be at their Coal Valley facility for an event in May, which is exciting. They've been just very welcoming, very helpful. Komatsu right now, they're very very welcoming, very
awesome.
very helpful. Yeah, it's exciting. There's another manufacturer that is yellow as well. That's not at all welcoming.
Not very welcoming. I'll tell you, we've been so fortunate to have the relationship we do with Deere. I never thought we could, not in my wildest dreams would I think that we could get in the rooms that we were invited into.
Yeah.
Ever. Like it just never, to break out of your local dealership seems like a big deal. Like I think for a lot of people, meeting a territory manager or even just a branch manager or CEO of their, dealership would be huge. To go to dinner with them would be like a career moment,
especially when you're not like a Patillo.
Yeah, well, Patillos. But again, you're on that level. You're getting invited everywhere. Because they're like, keep buying our stuff.
But no, I mean, not when you're not spending.
Not when you're Bob Dietz and Sons. You're not getting that invite.
Mm-hmm.
So for us to have access to that support, and then our dealers just stepping up, I think we've got some of the best between. Like Jesco has just been phenomenal for us. Yeah. Full support all the way around. United has been great too. But just having that, it just changed your world. And when you boil that all the way back to like starting a social media page so people know that you exist and that you're relevant, that's where like the struggle to think that there's no value there, it completely changed our world. Yeah. It just gives you access to, like you would never be contractor of the year if we didn't have social media. I don't think. Maybe there are people that make it there. I don't know. But I feel like it's
transitioned. It was a little more unknown contractors, I would say, back in the day.
Yeah, like where they had to find them.
Yeah. And if they weren't on there, I would have never seen them ever before. Mm-hmm. But now I was like you guys, and then Shay and others that have like made that part of the business. Like that's not why they're there.
American Pavement. Yeah. American.
Oh, were they as
they
well?
Were, they were,
yeah.
Well, they weren't. They were a finalist.
Okay, yeah.
But look what they've done for the paving industry.
It's incredible,
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's it's not like
done so much.
That's not the business. Like you still have to move dirt, lay pipe, put asphalt, whatever you're doing. You still got to make money. Still got to treat people well, get nice equipment, look good, etc. Deliver. But it doesn't hurt.
We had the site you visited. American did the paving there, all the DOT work.
Yeah,
and our site. Guys were, our GC was excited that American, like they know who they are because their kids watch them on YouTube and stuff. Like that's pretty cool. Like it's a whole different. It just adds another layer.
Sure.
And for marketing, layers are good. Mm-hmm. Like the more you can have, So, so many people are doing it now. It is it's become very trendy and they're getting there.
So many people are doing it, but a lot of people don't.
Few are doing it well.
Yeah. So doing
because
one
what
thing,
is your story? What is your image?
Mm-hmm.
Are you positive on there, or do you use it as an opportunity to attack people?
So there's that. That's never a good look. Using social, like every time I see somebody do that, it's just
I reached out to a guy this week that I don't even know.
Don't.
I just saw him, and he's complaining about his. A brand that we weren't going to mention, complaining that they wouldn't give him something.
What, a software?
Some software.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. his posts have been cracking.
So I started messaging him.
That's hilarious.
My wife is like, why are you talking to this guy for an hour at 11 o'clock at night trying to help him? I'm like,
he's out west.
Somebody needs to talk to this guy. Like, what are you doing? He's got these like still waiting posts,
And he's posting his bills from the dealership online.
What are you doing?
It's hilarious.
I was like, I could probably find you somebody to talk to. This is not the way to do it. I want to help you.
But also,
it's so bad.
In that case, I'm also kind of for it because it's like that's dog shit. And the software stuff drives me nuts. Like we won't allow you to fix your own machine.
So my struggle is I personally don't feel like that is how you get what you want.
No, it's not.
So, but no matter what, I don't feel like going public with your dirty laundry or someone else's dirty laundry is the way to foster.
It's not
a single good result or a long-term good result, right?
Yeah.
I know if my customers go on social media and post all this stuff that Dietz isn't even here and now it's raining and now we're going to like, I don't want to go. I want to distance myself from them as quick as possible, right? I don't want to work with them. I don't want to know them. I don't want anything to do with them. Yeah. So that's how you think you're going to get your dealer or the manufacturer to resolve a industry-wide struggle? bad mouthing everybody and just like making all these dramatic videos. I don't think that that's the solution.
There's a,
I guess I get catch more flies with honey, right? So our style is to find a route to the right person. You're just not talking to the right person yet.
Yeah.
And I believe that there's a right person for every situation or for every solution. So just keep finding that. And that's through being a nice guy who outlines and describes what your struggle is.
Mm-hmm.
Identify what your real struggle is. Don't just be selfish like this would make me more money or this would make me more efficient or whatever. Like, what is your real struggle? And if you really need a solution, I think that there is a way to foster that conversation and find that person. But I think so many people just go to bad mouthing a dealer, and there's typically only one side of the story being shown. They don't really explain both sides. So that's my whole point to that guy was, what's the real struggle? How do you find the solution and lead up the chain? Go to them with the solution.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking them to solve an impossible situation because it's across all these manufacturers. It's not like this is just a one-off thing where like, oh, this one company won't do it. No, find the solution. If you're that smart and it's so simple, you present the solution. And if you can come up with a good one, they'll do it.
Yeah.
Right? But he's not putting an effort into it. He's just saying, solve my problem, give it to me.
I'm enjoying it just from the outside. I think it's hilarious because he's being creative about it too.
Yeah. I'm not saying his videos aren't great.
No, he's doing a great job. Yeah, I just think I'm all for it. But yes, it's not the best strategy.
Yeah.
However, I am definitely petty, and I don't air anything on social media, but I have a long fucking memory. and I only intend at this point to be more and more and more and more and more influential in this world.
Yeah.
And I will not fucking forget.
Yeah.
So it's certain things that have happened. Like or even it was funny the other day, like, man, there was a guy who was just and I was being a turd, but he was a pretty enormous prick back in the day. Yeah. Like this was years ago. I know. And so, but then this and I give Caterpillar all kinds of grief, but the dealers I could not say nicer things about. Yeah. The dealers are phenomenal. Yeah. They have supported us in so many ways since day one. So somebody at a dealer he messaged me, hey, what do you think about this guy? And I'm just like, I just smiled. I'm like, what's going on here? And they were thinking, they wanted to know if he was, was a potential hire. And I was like, how, about that?
Yeah.
Like, this is a curious position I'm in.
Why how the tables have turned.
And I wasn't like, I had the influence to wheel, but I didn't want to do that. Yeah. Like he's still, I think, a very talented individual. Yeah. He's in the position he's in for a reason. He's done very good things where he's at. So I had a bad experience with him, but said nice things about him. I'm like, he'd be a great hire. I'd hire him.
Yeah.
But it's just like little stuff like that starting to happen. And it's like, all right, another 5 to 10 years. Let's go.
That is. Yeah. I just feel, I guess from my side, I think the manufacturers can have that same memory and that same long-term.
Oh, totally.
Right. Totally. So I know like just our whole relationship with Deere, there's been times where like different things come up where somebody's complaining about something and, they got ripped off or something broke or whatever it was, then that's their opinion of their viewpoint of the situation. And you're like, when you look at all the facts, you're like, I don't see it the same. But while they're running to find a solution, they will also, and I'm not saying Deere, I'm saying in general, anybody is going to run from just a barking dog. You're just making noise. That's not good for anybody. So the person just find the solution, like go after the solution. That's where like opportunities like ConExpo, like sometimes if you're at a roadblock, find another path, like go to ConExpo, talk to the people in the booth, say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
I've got this and this going on. I bought this or that. And this is what I'm struggling with. What's the solution? And just brainstorm with people and you can come up with bigger solutions. I feel like it's very narrow-minded to just go and put it out there to the general population and complain about your struggle that they're not, in no way can any of those people help you. You know, like go find they're hoping that some high up somewhere is on social media. They're likely not on there.
No.
You know, it's just us on there going like, I don't really want to hear about your struggles anymore, you know?
Well, it's usually middle management's usually the problem.
Yeah.
They're not usually the problem. They're usually the gatekeeper.
They're not the solution.
Yeah, that might be the roadblock.
They can gum stuff up because at the executive level, like they've got other shit going on. Like they've got more important
really
stuff happening.
That,
they're not.
They might task it to somebody.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah. Rarely are they getting involved in stuff like it's usually somebody somewhere in the middle who has substantial power that can either be your friend or really get in your way. And I've in the past I've gone around people, which is very rarely worked out for me. Sometimes I will if I've exhausted, if it's like that's like the last case scenario. But
it doesn't usually go well.
Going around people is also really, really bad. Yeah. Just a short-sighted move. Because then now, even if you get what you need done from the higher up who just overrode.
The little memory comes back.
They will not
or you
forget
get labeled as like the guy.
They will not forget that. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
I think also when it comes to solutions, like working with your dealership, I think it is a relationship. It is thing. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are very selfish. You know, you want the cheapest price when you buy the machine, you want the best service, you want the cheapest parts, and you want it now. You know, and sometimes that's the reality is you want it right now. And, you know, I don't want to overpay. But I think if you spend the time developing the relationships as far as like talk to them, ask them, you know, it's out from a small contractor standpoint. Sometimes you can't, it's hard to develop that. But I feel like for us, like, you know, just spend time with the sales department. So spend time with the rental.
Well, take your salesman to lunch.
Like talk about
how many
stuff.
people invite their salesman, come have lunch with me and pay for it.
Sure.
Everybody wants a free hat and a free burger from their salesman. Like that's a bad approach to the relationship. Like if you want something, you create that avenue. You create the relationship. Invite them out to your site. It's like, hey, come view my stuff. Hey, come to my office. Meet my guys. Let me talk about what we're doing for the next year. This is what we've got on our workload. This is what we're trying to do. I'd love your suggestions on what the gaps are in our equipment, or how do you feel about, like, do you think we should replace this machine? Like, you do that. Everybody's like, my salesman never comes and sees me. You go see him? Like, if you think of your relationship the same as like you treat your marriage, if you just walk in and you demand all those things, you know, I want the cheapest price and the fastest service and all that stuff, like treat your wife that way and see how that relationship goes. It won't go anywhere, right? You will not have a wife. She will leave you because you're an idiot. If you treat your salesman well, if you like view them as part of your team, maybe it's not all their fault. Maybe they're now going to be drawn to you because you're the only customer that they have that does that. So now you may be the best customer that they have. You may get all their attention. So it's, you know, put something into it. And I feel like so many people just, it's so easy to blame your salesman, blame the dealership and demand things and be like, they don't ever help me. Okay. Well, what are you doing to help them? They're a business. They're not owned. Most of them are not owned by corporate. They're owned
None of them
by
are
a
nonprofit.
family business. All of them need money to survive. So when you're just demanding everything for free and expecting free service and free travel with the trucks to come fix your stuff, like, it's great. I mean, we all need.
I mean, not that any of us want to pay for that.
No, we
stuff,
need them to
like,
cooperate. We need
know.
fair pricing and stuff, and sometimes there is room for things for a discount or whatever. But just what are you investing into that relationship? And I think if people try that, it will change their world.
But with equipment, it's funny because you can, again, it's short-sighted to like over here chase the discount, not develop the relationship, and then your machine's down over here and you can't really get the parts for it or something like that. Like,
it's not sustainable when you take all the money away from the dealership and then expect them to provide a good service for you.
You lose more money with your machine broken for 5 days or whatever it is than that discount. Like it's so like you're trying to get the deal. Everyone wants the deal. I got the best of them. I got them. But yeah,
it's such a small percentage of.
Yeah, I think the best deal, I mean, not that everyone doesn't want the best deal, but the best deal works great when you're 25 and buying a car.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work with a relationship in business where you're buying multiple machines every year and you're going to buy from this guy for years.
Sure.
You know, a lot of salesmen stay in their role for years. So
Yeah.
you want, you know, if you're just like a pain in the neck to him every time he sees your name come up on his phone, that's not great.
But that's where I feel like the value, you may pay a couple dollars more in a single purchase, but the value of his opinion and his like support, right, in choosing the right model, not setting it up with options you don't need. You know, you got the wrong set of tracks on a dozer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Poor salesman, he's going to let you do that. A good salesman isn't going to let you do that. It may cost more for the right tracks, but that relationship, that support that you get from him, you're not going to get if we're going for the best brand with the best salesman out of a quality dealership and expect the cheapest price.
Sure.
Right. If you want the Mercedes, you're not going to get it for the Hyundai price.
Mm-hmm.
The Hyundai salesman is making $40,000 a year. The Mercedes salesman is making $200,000 a year. I don't know, just guessing. You know, if he's selling a lot of cars, there's a difference there. You're going to pay more, but if you're demanding more, so many people are demanding more, and yet they want it for the cheapest. You're like, it's not. You can't get that. So pay more. Like actually pay more, and then go out and do the best work. And guess what? You can charge more. So you've just slid that scale up to where you're profitable. The same profit margin with better equipment. You broke down less. You've got a salesman that cares about you. He's going to make sure the service department takes care of you all the way through. You know, that's how you become Patillo, not by being cheap.
Mm-hmm.
The cheap thing, the free lunch doesn't get you to become Patillo.
My one of my favorite, not my favorite, but just one of the things that really makes me scratch my head is when when a contractor gets fucked over. And like maybe a machine broke or something like that, and they wouldn't fix it or something like that. Like sometimes it's substantiated, but then they're just like, I'm never buying this brand ever again. And that's like the strongest brand in that area, the strongest dealer. And it's like, okay,
but pretty small-minded.
Yeah, but they like, I don't know, is the other dealer really better? They're not. And so you're going to go over here and get...
Yeah, that's tough.
Like I see that every once in a while. I'm like, I don't know, and even I think it's also small-minded to just think you can do business with just one brand as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As you're growing, like even within the Deere realm, there's some machines they don't make, like that other manufacturers make that you need to get. Like, I very rarely have ever been to a job site with one brand of equipment. And yet all the manufacturers act like one brand. Like, we're the best. Nobody, I go to ConExpo, I'm like, I don't know. All these machines look pretty good to me. Mm-hmm. Like, this excavator looks pretty good. That excavator looks pretty good. Yeah, they're all good.
For us, the majority of our fleet is Deere, and that is because of the relationship that's been now 3 generations and 50 years in dirt, and I don't even know how many decades it would in ag before that.
Yeah.
That's why we stick the majority of our stuff is with them, and like you see, to be honest, you get in one, if like the logic of the engineers, if that works for you, the way that the cab's designed, the way that they build their machines, stick with that brand because it's going to be across their fleet, right? They're going to have that theme that's going to make you feel good. Whatever brand that is, for us, it's Deere, and that's been, huge for us. But the relationship is as important or more important than the actual machine.
Sure.
The actual machine. There are a lot of good machines out there, but the relationship is like key. And that's where like the higher we've gone through just meeting people in Deere, like you just meet good people all the way up, like really solid people that care about, like they sit, when you have the president of CNF sitting talking with you about like, what's your workload, what kind of stuff are you doing, what kind of machines are you looking at, what's the value of this machine, like in Zacatone next to you with the new machine, he's like, you think that's good for you, and talks through it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that's, I guess I haven't been in the room with other manufacturers. I don't know, but it's for us, it's been pretty special. Just that relationship specifically with Deere, they're just all the way up. Good people that care about like impacting, because our whole brand or our reliability for our customers is based on equipment in a large way. Like if stuff's breaking down all the time or we can't rely on it, like you can have the best intentions in the world if your machines are breaking all the time.
Well, they don't care about your equipment. They don't care if your equipment's broken.
They don't care if it's clean. They don't care what brand it is. They don't care.
Yeah.
It's about if you get the work done. Did you move that dirt today or not?
Yep.
Right. So the rest of it is for us, and for us, it's basically for us. Like, makes us feel good, and it's exciting for us. But that's what when you realize like you're in a room and you're trying to change you're in a CAG and there's 100 engineers in the room and you're talking through things and you're like, I want to change this. And they're stubborn about not changing it. And then they tell you why it's that way and why it doesn't work your way. And they've gone down that road 50 times. You're like, okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Like they're legitimately keeping you up and going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
I'm glad we made this work. Glad I caught you guys before the main party. I wasn't invited. I don't get invited to any of that anymore. I wasn't invited to Deer. I wasn't invited to Equipment.
You didn't get invited to Sacaton?
No. I turned them down once, and here we are.
There you go. Everybody remembers.
Yeah. So that's okay. But yeah, I'm glad we were able to catch up.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Shoot the shit a little bit. Super happy for you guys. It's been great following along. I'm one of those people following along with what you guys are doing. And hopefully I'm up in your neck of the woods one of these days soon.
Come see us. Yeah, and genuinely, like the whole BuildWit app platform, like genuinely is impacting our process. Like the guys are
that's super
like
cool.
Seriously loving it. And even for us, like it's every time I'm like I'll load the videos ahead for everybody, the workload.
Yeah.
And sitting and just kind of going through like, what do we want to talk about? What do we want to push out to the guys? It's just cool to have that. Like, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
So like totally changing our, just on a small scale, it's just reminded all the time, learn something. Every day, learn something. And that's
it's making us talk about topics, like, yes, the grease your machine every day is great, but like, we don't talk about suicide prevention, or it just never really comes up.
Yeah.
But, watching those videos and going through it, you're like, oh, and you see, you get in conversations now because of the video, and it's accomplishing. I think no different than anything else we talked about. It's like when you set down a course and you start going down a road and you see it actually accomplishing what you wanted to, it gets exciting. So,
and even more than that, I would say, I really feel like the first summit was like a turning point for us. It just hit at the perfect time for us with the need to improve our leadership and actually like have leadership, not just be making a daily plan, like actually developing real skills as a leader and refining your role and defining your role and delegating and all of those. I mean, so much of what we do is based off of, I would attribute a lot of it to Jocko at that first summit. Like the whole, we have morning briefs and debriefs, every crew. I mean, we tried to implement, we came home with like pages of, just bullet points of like, implement this.
Yeah.
And then we tried to implement all of it within the first year before the next summit. And we did. I mean, it changed
but it changes you from a mom and pop business that's just running on your whims to a legit, you start looking at how other businesses are run and how, what you can implement. And what's crazy is there's a book, it's called, I think, Built to Sell. But it tells you, it's kind of it's like a story about a business, and they're basically redoing a business to get it to a certain point. And when it becomes manageable, it actually is less work and it's easier on the owner. And I think all these things that we've implemented a lot from the summit or from BuildWit, that they actually make it easier and smoother, and your stress load, your implementation. It's like things are just, you have a process and it's running, which I think when you're running a smaller business, it's very hectic. And now it's like you're running a bigger business than it was before, and it's actually easier, which is crazy.
That's why I've no shame. Like right now I'm selling summit tickets. I don't feel bad about selling those at all, because it's like, I know if you come to this,
selling them,
the value, you're gonna get more than enough for what you're paying.
Both years.
And if you don't, like, I don't know, you're at the bar the entire time, and even at the bar, the people you're gonna meet.
That's what I was gonna say. The relationship.
No, but we're sitting at the bar with
Sargent.
Herb Sargent, like, and Jimmy and Ryan. What's his name? Civil Craft. BlueCon.
Ryan from BlueCon up in Calgary.
Yeah, and these guys are talking about stuff, and you're like, oh, that is a great idea, you know, and it could be who knows what, you know, everything from
but it's motivating because like I didn't know much about ESOPs. You sit and talk with her for a while, you're like, that's where we're headed.
Sure,
like that's the path that thing. It's cool, you know, like figure out how to do that, you know. But yeah, the summit, like hands down, came at the perfect time for us. And I can't say enough good things of just like, one, you guys putting together like a solid group of people to motivate you, you know, what's his name? Always forget names when I go to say him with the marketing. Marcus is like unbelievable. He gets you all wound up. He gets you so excited about marketing and, you know, just keep going. And that's where you start to see like, oh, I think we are like kind of in the group that's leading the path here for, you know, on a small scale. But the value of it, the importance of just like keep going and like develop your brand and share your story. Sure. You know, it's pretty cool. But I would say the leadership things from the summit were like one of the most impactful things. The summit and grade control. They're like big things in your life, you know. Nice. Con Expo, like they're just it's up there with like the things that totally changed your view of. I think sometimes you can hold yourself back thinking, oh, we're a smaller company, we don't need all this stuff, we don't need job titles, we don't need, you know, things that like you like identify that space. Now the guy knows where, like that's his role. Yeah, this is what your role is. Now go do it, and then you can support him, and he can grow, and he feels confident. So. Yeah, and the reality of like trying to run your business on a level of a SEAL team, you're going to win. Like I always think about Chaco saying that like they would develop their plan, they would have their brief, they'd go out on their mission, they would come back, and if you had a bad plan, somebody got shot in the face, like you lost a guy. Good plan, you brought everybody back. And in business, it may take years to realize if somebody died or not, physically or just like, you know, they didn't have a good plan. Sure. But if you attack it the same way with like, this is how we do it, and you put all that, everybody leads, and oh my goodness, you know, all the different processes in place, it just, everybody feels good. Everybody feels confident. You move forward at a totally different pace. You're winning. You set your people up to win. And it's just like the whole process is so much better than like, guys, we have a lot of work to do and we got bad weather coming. Like that's not a fun conversation for anybody. But the other way, it's like, hey, we're at battle here and we've got to figure out, identify all of the struggles. How are we going to solve all these things? And then you go do it. And that's where like, yeah, it was a defining moment, I would say, for us. So
sweet.
Yeah.
That's huge. No, that's why we're doing it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's working. And I would think that, you know, there's probably big companies that go there and they're like, yep, we're doing all this stuff. That's cool. But people our size that probably think they're too small to go
are the ones
that need to be there.
Yeah. Even the big companies need to, I think they're also the ones that need it. Like they do. Some big companies are just like, no, we already know all this. I'm like, really? What are you doing? Because I've talked to some of your people and I mean, I know revenue's up, you're making billions, but let me tell you, there are some problems.
Yeah. Well, there's always room for improvement. And there's like, I mean, there was a book, Everybody Matters.
Yeah.
You gave it to us.
Yeah.
At the first summit.
Yeah, he spoke.
What's his name? Yeah.
Bob Chapman.
Yeah, Bob Chapman. Oh my God. That book is like mind-blowing. Everything that he approaches, he finds a struggle. And your mind, when you're listening to the book, goes with everyone else. Like, you know, you got to lock up all the tools and time cards. And he's like, remove all the fences from the tools and the parts, get rid of all the time cards across the company. Yeah. Give the people like the freedom. And you're like, it's not going to work. And it works. Like,
and he's in manufacturing. Like it's blue collar.
He's in a whole different level of thinking for caring for people. And
well, because it's very easy to say no. Goodness. It's very easy to lock up the tools and you know, go that direction.
It's safer to lock up the tools. Now I don't have to worry about it, but is it?
Yeah, when you say yes, it's like now I have to figure out what yes means and how do we change this. And whereas,
but there was a thing he talked about in that book where everybody is someone's special person, right? So that's somebody's, you know, that's grandma's little baby to grandma,
Yeah.
right? Or that's, somebody's aunt, and that's like she's the most special person. Are you treating her the way that person treats her?
Sure.
Because if you do, now you value the person, and figure that out. Like figure out how to treat people on a level of yes, performance matters. Yes, we've got to hit these goals and all these targets, but like, how do you do that while treating them? And sometimes you've created a crappy environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like the pressure and all the struggles, you couple that with like extreme ownership of like, you're at fault for everything. I mean, you just start layering that thinking, you can't help but win.
Yeah.
You can't help but identify the problems and like see the solution, because you've been empowered to do it. Like, it's up to you. You just sit around and complain about stuff, go on social media and crap, just bark about everybody else. There's so many things that like extreme ownership, find the solution.
It works.
Complaining, you've empowered everyone else.
Yeah.
Now you're just telling them to come up with the solution.
Yeah.
You come up with the solution. I mean, there's just, I would say like that whole agenda of speakers, like the way it was put together, just really well done.
Well, just wait till this year, because we've gotten hopefully better and better. And this year's agenda is legit, and it's just different. I mean, it's just it's a lot more varied, a little bit less. Last year was a lot, so we've dialed it back a little bit, broken things up a little bit better. We're bringing in just completely different topics, completely different people. So it'll be just a blast.
When Jocko started the first time, it was intense. You're just like, what is going on? But I'll tell you, by day 2, you were like, this is amazing. Like he had to come so hard so that you realize, like, I mean, the comparison to warfare, once he brought it all around and tied it together, you're like, holy crap.
Sure.
I didn't really understand, like, why are we talking about this? It's cool. It's intense, but I'm like, we're not at war. Mm-hmm. And then you take that leadership side and you're like, oh, right?
Yeah.
It started cool. Really, it made sense. It was cool.
All right. Well, happy to have you. And like I said, hopefully I make it up to New York. Right on.
Yeah.
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
figure it out. Yeah. We'll see you in Germany.